Welcome to Fatherhood Field Notes podcast, where I interview truly incredible fathers to gain wisdom from their stories for you and I to grow in our own craft. I'm your guide, Ned Shout, father to 5 kiddos, currently ages 12 to 19, and husband to my rad wife, Sarah, working on our 21st year of marriage. So yes, I am in the thick of it. I am with you, and I am working daily to rebel against the low expectations set for fathers and create a world where fathers know who they are as they show up for their families. You and I have the greatest opportunity to impact our world through the way we embrace our fatherhood role. This episode is brought to you by the Adventure of Fatherhood, helping men discover their powerful fatherhood role and build their fatherhood skills. The role of father is to serve, guide, steward, protect, and of course, find joy and have fun in the messiness of it all. Today's guest is my friend, Griff Erickson. He lived and breathed baseball for most of his upbringing, led him to get to play pro ball, and then we discussed him learning how to transition out of that sport and to step into being a loving, engaged family man. All right, Griff Erickson, welcome to Fatherhood Field Notes, brother. How you feeling today?
I'm feeling pretty good, man. Feeling pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Already smiling ear to ear. I love it, dude. All right. First question out the gate. How old do you find yourself today?
Oof. Okay. So there's parts of me that feel like it's two pronged. So parts of me feel like I'm my age, right? Like I'm 37 years old. I'm, feeling good. And then there's the other part of me, which is my body that feels, 50 or 60, after playing, it sets in, all those things that guy said to me, like count your swings and all those things I didn't listen to because I was 20 are starting to set in. So, yeah, feeling a little bit, but aren't we all? I guess we all are, right?
You're feeling it a little bit. Oh yeah, bro, for sure. I'm be 42 next week, and I don't know what the hell, but my lower back has just been like so tight for like 2 weeks. You should see me get out of bed in the morning. I'm like, dude, I'm not 80, bro. What's going on here? How many years?
Yeah. Isn't it funny, dude? The routine, you said get out of bed. So we that's when you start hitting the checklist, right? You ask how old do you feel? It's like, well, I guess you have to like go back to like, do you have a routine to get out of bed yet? And then you're like, oh, you do. Yeah, you must be in that range, right?
All right, man. How many years you been married?
So we're gonna be going on 8 years. Yeah, 8 years. Yeah. So it's been we went quick, man. The kids were quick, everything was quick. But it's cliche, but like you're only as good as your other half. And since we did go so quick, I think we only knew each other for 2 years prior to being married. We spent every day together, but you definitely as a person are going through a lot of growth when you get into those marriage years and you've lived with roommates, but have you lived with the woman you love more than anything? No, it's new. So, yeah, man, it's been a wild ride.
Yes. And how many kiddos do you guys have?
Three. So, yeah, buddy. Yeah. Oh yeah. 4, 5, and then 9 months. My little daughter. Yeah. 2 boys that are 4 and 5, and then my daughter.
Nice. And then are you donezo, or is the door still open?
I think that door's always open, man. It's like I don't know if it's in our DNA. Well, I think it is in our DNA, obviously, but you have the kids and you go through the 1s and 2s and 3s, and then all of a sudden you start getting this thing where you forget how difficult it is, right? So then you climb back in and you're like, yeah, like, honey, I think you're right. Like, this is going to be a great idea. Let's have another addition to the family. And then you have it and you're going, whoa, did I forget? I did. Holy crap.
That's so
good. So yeah, buddy. So, it comes with challenges. My middle son, he's got cerebral palsy. We're fortunate; it's just in his legs, really. And he is so strong. He was with us. He was with the program of getting up early every morning and rubbing his legs, and then getting him out there. Walking around, doing his thing, and now he's able to walk around. And talk about perspective. You think you got it tough, or you think you're having a bad day? Like, he's walking by you smiling, and you look at him like, you shouldn't be smiling right now. You should be like, what's wrong with the situation? Ah, man, he's amazing. So, you talk about being married and then having kids, and then you throw the just having kids onto a marriage, and then, the extra stuff with what he's got going on. And, um, that adds another layer into it. And I guess, I could safely say I have a strong marriage, kind of just with all that, we've made it through and we still doing
What would you
strong.
say to the
So,
dad who maybe is just learning or has learned, like his kid has some things that are going to cause some challenges, struggle, whatever you want to call it,
yeah.
what would your advice be to him?
Yeah, so what I did is I was constantly searching for something that me and him could share, because as much as we do all the activities with the other kids or whatever, we're always going around, we're doing the normal stuff. You got to really make sure to try and find something that you have special that's with him, because things are going to be so different. Going to Disneyland, he's not able to walk around like everyone else. So, maybe his experience is a little different, and as he starts growing, it's going to be well, why am I not doing it that same way? So finding that thing that's alone with him that you have in commons, going to leave the door open for him to be able to, in his own way and his young age, be able to come to you with his concerns. And they'll come to you with the concerns. So I would say search for that. With Oliver and me, it's we go alone and we smoke homers at the park. So it's done his own way, but we put a ball on the tee, and I'm just lucky he's doing baseball stuff, but he likes to just rip balls off the tee, in his own way. And then we'll go to the get a Gatorade after. So it's simple, but look for it, and I think it's going to evolve as he gets older. But having that space, and I think you should have it with all your kids, but it gets overlooked, and you got to make sure that you're focusing a little bit more on that
I
child a
love
little
that,
bit.
dude.
So
I love finding that connection. And then it doesn't have to be overly, it can be, you use the word simple, but to them, it's all about connection. It's like almost doesn't matter what it is that you're doing, it's that you're doing something together and making it a priority. Where do you guys live? Where do you guys do life?
yeah, so we live in and it's kind of a trippy thing, okay? Because people ask me this question, and I go, because it's kind of a weird place on the map too. So we live in a place called Harmony Grove, okay, which is basically elfin forest, right? Okay, so people are always like, "What, elfin forest and Harmony Grove?" I'm like, "Yeah, Gandalf, he's got a spot too. He's over there." So we live in Harmony Grove, which is right by Escondido, and really an elfin forest. I grew up in San Diego. It's still in San Diego, but I grew up in Alpine area, and for me, I didn't even know this place existed. I didn't know it existed. So my wife was driving me here. So we were pulling out of escrow in a place in Bayho, which is in this really great area right by the beach. The home that we were supposed to remodel, just like the neighbors, and we were looking at their plans, it fell through. So we were pulling out of escrow. She goes, "I got this spot. I want you to come look at it." And for me, growing up, in Far East County, like kind of out, where the pine trees are and all that kind of stuff. I'm going, "Where are you leading me? I am not living up here." It was always up here. You know how you got where you live and you say, "Oh, down there or up there." For me, that was way up there. So we pull up. This place has a park called 4th of July Park. So it's in July, and there's like a golden retriever running, chasing a frisbee. There's like kids playing in the sprinklers. I'm looking at her. I'm like, "Dude, no
That's awesome.
way." And so we pull up, and I was done. So that's how we landed where we were at.
That's killer, dude. Now, in a couple minutes, what is it that you do for a living to provide value out in the world and feed the family?
Yeah. So I'm an employee benefits consultant, and so I'm basically a broker. I work with companies 50 to 500, and I help them kind of navigate that space that is ever changing. I mean, it seems like there's always something new coming down from the government, or some sort of tweak or change, and that puts compliance in a whole different place. And we help navigate that with a team. We're very, very hands on, and I didn't know I would ever land in this place, but I love what I do. So I'm involved with people. So
Yeah, man.
that's what I
And
do.
now we met, I clearly do the same thing. We met on the golf course at some event in
Yeah.
San Francisco area, and got to talking a little bit about your story and about your life. And so, give a little bit of a backstory on your life, and then I want to talk about how your life has shaped the father that you are.
Yeah. So, I guess I'll kind of try and start at the beginning and not get too lost down a rabbit hole here. My dad played professional baseball with the Red Sox, White Sox, Giants, and Cleveland Indians back in the 70s, early 70s. So different era, guys weren't really getting paid that much, but, he grew up a baseball fan, loved baseball. And so naturally, his son is, going to be a baseball star. So most of every single day, and I can safely say it was almost every single day, there was some sort of practicing, some sort of hitting off the tee. I liked baseball, but I was not a fan really. I was just good. And as I grew, I got drafted out of high school. I was not paying attention. I knew that I was going to all these scouting things, but kind of came out of nowhere. The Los Angeles Dodgers had drafted me, and I'm in high school, and school hasn't even, we haven't even graduated yet. And kids at school are going, way to go. And I'm kind of going, all right, well, I guess this is like what I'm going to do. So I signed and pretty much took off. And, um, I thought I was going to like the big leagues, right? The Dodgers draft you, like, hey, man, LA's sweet right now. I'm gonna go up there and play some ball. No, they flew me across country. I was in Florida. I'm driving through the swamps, and I end up at this place called Vero Beach, right? It's a beautiful little city, but you have to go through some swamps to get there. And that's where their training facility was at the time. And I showed up there, and I was one of two English speaking guys on my team. And, it was a huge reality check, of like, well, you decided to do this. Now let's see what you're made of. There's so many people there competing for a spot. It kind of threw me into that thing where, you better be good enough, or look, your flight's right there. You better, so a lot of pressure. But you have to grow up in a lot of different aspects. I mean, like, you just look at the baseball side of it. Like, look, I'm just turned 18, and I'm now taking showers with guys who, may or may not be the age that they say they are, because they don't really have birth certificates from Venezuela or Dominican Republic. And, it's a totally different element that you're dealing with, right? And you don't know much. You're 18 years old. You're just trying to figure things out. So that started it. It took me a couple of years to really kind of get my head around it, to where I had to try and figure out how to speak Spanish, and then, build buddies and learn what, learn the secret sauce of, like, what do I need to do to get to my end goal. And throughout my career, I played with two different teams, and I'd seen every level. And, finally got to the Padres, where I thought, like, this is my job. This is it. Second day in big league camp, I felt a huge pop, and something wasn't right, and went in, got it checked out, and it was bad. So I tried to rehab that year, but coming out of that season, almost blacking out while you're playing, hearing loud noises. I had to, like, learn how to maneuver again, because my hip didn't rotate right. I went into a surgery. It took me around 6 months to be able to walk and move around and do all the things that we take for granted. Um, so, you take an athlete, top of his game, doing really well, and then you throw him on his back, strapped to a machine, you know, for 3 months, and then trying to learn how to walk for another 3 months. Now, I think most people would be like, "Oh yeah, that sucks, right?" Like, when you're in it, yeah, it sucks. But looking back at this, there's a lot of structure in what we did, right? Again, like, you go to something at 5 a.m. in the morning, you're going to be here at this time, you're going to be at lunch, you're going to be there, blah, 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 blah. And there's your day, and you lather, rinse, repeat every single day. Now, I was taking myself out of that structure and then being thrown into the real world, because there's no program for guys that are getting out of baseball, like, no real anything. It's like, okay, see you later. Now you're on the workers' compensation. Do you know what that means? Well, deal with it. good luck. That's what happens. And so that time I had to sit on my back, be forced to lay there, was really where I got to figure out and master plan what I was going to do. Right. Okay. So yeah. Oh, 100%, man. I mean, like you're laying there going like that's it. Like, I mean, it's that's
Mm.
been taken from me. Like I
Now, were
won't be
you
able to do
depressed
that
or
again. And that's all
sad
I've
that
known.
baseball was over?
That's all I knew for 8 years, like straight. And it's a tough thing to swallow. And you go into some dark places. Um,
So
yeah.
from laying there, so what's interesting is I asked you the question and there was like kind of a shift for you, but my experience of being with you, and then even from the moment that we hit record, I mean, dude, you are full of joy. So like, and I would suspect that most people who know you would circle joy on a list of items, right? Like your smile's contagious. You seem just like super pumped for life. So for the person who is transitioning from one thing to another, to not be a victim to it, what would you say are the key things? Because it's like, dude, today I could bitch about how my back hurts, or I could show up and enjoy the day. So yeah, dude, even your smile now. So what is it about Griff that sets that up for him?
Well, now again, there may be two answers to this, or maybe two share my experience. So to be who I am today, and it's not perfect, believe me, but but like it's because I've been through so much, through so many things, right? So like I've seen how bad it can possibly be, and I've gotten good at learning to love the suck. You know what I'm saying? So like you gotta I live in the uncomfortable in a lot of different ways. If it's underwater training with Prime Hall, shout out Prime, that kind of stuff. Like I dive into situations like that. So if it's somebody who's transitioning, that's going to be a big shift in your life. Go find something that's going to make you uncomfortable, and I lean in on the physical side. Go find something new you have not done, if it's rock climbing, whatever it is, and be consistent and do it, because you're not all that change that has happened. That does not define you. That's not who you are. So go remind yourself that you can get uncomfortable somewhere else. You know what I mean? I think it's us taking ourselves out of that situation. And believe me, you're really the only one that can do it. So, find a way to take yourself out of that situation. You remind yourself all those qualities about yourself that got you there.
Ooh, dude, that's really good because I think in a lot of ways, like even right now in my current world, we moved into a new house. Feels like there's shit everywhere. It's like my garage is a disaster. We got the porch all clean, and then all of a sudden more stuff comes. And the reason I bring that up
Hmm.
is because I think in some ways I'm striving to like everything. I know where the batteries are. The
Yep.
flashlights are charged. I know where they are. Like everything's organized and perfect. But I think that the problem with America and our wealth and our comfort is when you get to that point, like you kind of become an asshole. So you're talking about like just embrace that. And then if for some reason you find that all the batteries and the flashlights are in the right place, you go mess it up or go find something to get yourself realizing like it's not supposed to be perfect, for lack of a better word.
Honestly, like you got a perfect example of just life right there. You said, I put all the things away, I cleaned the porch, and then more stuff is coming. Like that is life. Like more shit is going to show up on your doorstep. Get used to that. Like that's what happens in life. And if you sit there and yeah, we can't let it pile up, but you recognize that, look, the stuff's going to keep coming. I know what I have to do to put it away, but I don't get caught up in it. I don't sit there and go, oh man, more stuff's gonna come, more stuff's gonna come, more stuff. No, dude, I take a break, I go do what I'm gonna do, and then I'm gonna come back. Guess what? That's gonna be there. Oh yeah.
And more will come. I think that's the thing I'm finally kind of realizing is sometimes I'm like, all right, I'm going to really hang out with the family and do this or that once the garage is clean. Well, we've been here for 5 months and that thing finds itself sort of clean and then jacked again. But it's funny, dude. I just got to say this. The other night we have like a father son group, and the other night a dad was sharing, he like does work on people's houses, and he's like, man, the people's houses that I show up to who have the perfect garage and who everything's in the right place, there's like no kids around or anything, he's like, they look miserable, like they're miserable. So what I'm hearing and what I'm taking away even right now for me is like, dude, just when the garage is dirty, if there's an opportunity to connect with my kid, go do that, because the garage will still be dirty in 10 years, but my kid probably won't be here in 10 years. Like he's going to be out doing his own thing. You know what I mean?
Life is messy, and you know what? If you're so busy trying to clean up that you don't realize that your son is there watching you just do clean up all the time. I'm never gonna stop. I'm just gonna clean up all the time. He's gonna start cleaning up all the time, and you're just passing along nothing about who this person is, right? Yeah, 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 yeah.
Dude, that's so good. Oh, so good. Okay, so anything else? I'm going to ask you some father questions, but anything else kind of from the pro baseball to a transition to where you're at today? Like any other pieces of the story that are like milestone-ish that you would want to share?
Yeah, gosh, there's so much packed into there. My wife, the birth of Oliver left her with a couple rectovaginal fistulas, and to anybody that understands what those are, and if they're not noticed or treated, it's basically for a woman, you can't control your bowels. Like they can't, and that went on for 2 years. Now, I guess, that exposes a lot, right? Because now your wife, and a lot of what a woman is, or they consider themselves to be and take pride in, which they should, is stripped away. And she had a colostomy bag and a lot of things like that. And I guess going through all that stuff, just go buy your wife fucking flowers, man. Do that every 2 weeks, because they're so much stronger than you are in a lot of ways, man. They really are, And I saw her go through some of the gnarliest stuff I think I'll ever see, and all this stuff is simple. It's like, keep it simple, stupid. It's just like, keep it simple.
Yeah.
Do nice, take care of your kids, go out there and do stuff with them, and then, buy your wife flowers. That gives you the opportunity to give them to her, look her in the eye and say something nice. You'll be better for it. So yeah. So
Dude, that's so good. So you talked about your
right.
dad, and I'm just going to jump right into this. What's something you loved and appreciate about your dad? And then what's something you wish he would have done differently? And again, I say that loosely because we know you're the man you are, because maybe some of the things he did that you were annoyed at. So you wouldn't change it, but it shapes who you are now.
Yeah, man. So my dad was so he was always the creative, let's go do things, and he would drop, when he could, to go, go to the beach and build a sandcastle. He would throw you on top of his shoulders and jog down to the park and play with you, or throw the football around. It was a lot of that fun stuff. Now, even my dad will admit it, something that, maybe that, it rubbed off on me a little bit, and I had to, take inventory on some stuff, is that, along with all those fun, I'm, going to go out there, I'm going to do all this fun stuff. That's who I am. I'm energetic and all that stuff, came the equally angry moments, the yelling, the things like that. Now, I think I've done a pretty damn good job, but I think when a child is growing up, one of the worst things that can be done, in my opinion here, is the yelling. So a father is a mentor. He's a protector and a mentor. Now, as a child growing up, I don't think you should fear the protector and the mentor. Now, that yelling doesn't do anything good except for push the child away, to feel like at that they can't go to you for something with the fear that you may get angry. And I know, I mean, everybody's done it. Okay. There just maybe was, at times, and that comes with the sports stuff, it gets fiery. Always being with him, and that's our relationship. The most majority of it is the yelling, but that to me is something that have taken inventory on, and it's changed me. And like you said, I've gone through that, right? And that's the reason I am the man who I am today, and that I'm consciously aware of that. So
Hmm. Have you found yourself that you kind of nipped that in the bud early, or have you found like all of a sudden you didn't even realize it and you're showing up as the yelling dad and you like catch yourself and you're like, oh shit. And then you having to kind of figure it out.
yeah, I think, hey, look, I'm on here, and I'm not gonna hide shit. All right. So yeah, I'm probably the second. But I don't know that it was like yelling, like you did something wrong yelling. It was more me yelling about something else in their presence. Okay. I'm pretty good with them. Now it's being conscious of me yelling about something else, or what my energy and my presence is around them, right? Because they feel energy as kids. They sense when stuff's off, and then when they get that, they either recluse, they go hide or something, or they try and mimic what's going on. You ever seen a lot of loud noises around a
Yeah.
baby, and the baby just starts going out and then making noises, right? Like mimicking what's going on. Those are things that we still do even as adults, right? We are who the people we're around, so you can't blame a child for doing that. It's just something that I noticed, to be aware of. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, super good. So you mentioned a few things about the role of the father, provider, protector, mentor. Any other things that you'd say if you were gonna talk to a new dad? You're like, all right, dude, this is your role. Is there anything else you'd say to him?
Yeah. 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 So, um, look, we're all those basic primal things, right? Like you strip us down, man, we're gonna be out there hunting and gathering, getting together, being manly, and we're all those things, right? But there's also that element of love, right? Like that comes in a bunch of different ways, but really, really sharing with your kids what love is, and showing them that, and a healthy version of that love, I think is so important. Because later on in your life, if you're trying to find a reference point to what love is, that's trouble, right? That's where we make bad mistakes, and we go in and we trust certain people, or mistaken certain things as love when they're not. I think it's very important that they know what it's like to be loved, and then show love in the right way. I think, and making it a point to them, like, see, this is daddy. I've given her flowers. I do this because I love mommy, and I like to say nice things to mommy, because that's how I express my love, like for a young child or something like that. Those things, I feel like they need to be said out loud, right? Because you'll remember them as you're older, but if you want to set a good example, we talk about all the other things in our life, the shit at work, the this, the that, they hear all that. Why not just at least talk a little bit about what you just did, right? So
Did you so at even your approach to like saying that, it felt like when yes, discipline, yes, go hunt and gather, that's all like that's one loving way to show up as a dad, but then the other piece is almost like this tender nurturer, which I totally gather from you. But it's not like I got to be one or the other. The reality is that as a man, we have to be both. So for the nurture slash tender, I don't know if you'd use another word, but did you experience that from your own dad?
yeah. So that was a thing I got from him. But with us, it was always, it was like the touchy feely stuff. Like we would always give each other a hug, right? Or put your hand on your back, or like we were never afraid to show emotion, or and things like that. So I did get a sense of it. What I had to do inventory on again was like, and this went through a lot of work that I had to do on myself, of like what my idea of love is, and then breaking that down and where it came from. And so I got a lot of it from my dad, but then, you got to expand on that. My job is to take what I know, expand on it in the best way that I know, and then give it to my kids. Right. So, yeah.
Dude, that's so good. And I love that, just it's words, it's actions, it's like you said, it's easy for us to kind of talk about all the stuff that's easy to talk about, but some of the emotions, sometimes men are almost like, you can't also talk about how much I love mommy. Like, dude, she's rad. I love her. And our kids need to see that tenderness in us. Griff, when did you embrace fatherhood? So it's like, you have this career, you meet the love of your life, you get married, like 2 years in, you have a kiddo. Were you like, the moment you heard you're going to be a dad, or was it when the baby was born, or when the baby first walked? When was it that you're like, dude, my role matters?
That's a trippy one here, because I, before the baby was born, I already was prepped, like, dad, all right, I can do this, right? Then the actual event happens, and then you've never had a kid of your own, so you've got this thing. Okay, look, it's a person. Let's not, it's a person, but you got this thing that doesn't talk to you, doesn't do anything but sleep and kind of, like, roll around a little bit, shits, and you got to clean it up. It keeps you up all of the time. Like, there's like, it's yours, and you love this boy or girl, like, you love it, but, like, you're not able to connect. So then, like, you kind of, like, the wife kind of takes over, because you're really at that point, like, they don't need you, really. I mean, like, kind of, like, for money and go get this, go get that. But women are so strong, like, they do everything themselves, like, they can do it all. um so then I think that really, I think fatherhood, really, I think the definition of fatherhood, started setting in around 1 years old. Well, no, 9 months. 9 months is when I think it started really setting in, because that's when, if I remember correctly, they started really connecting, and then looking at you and understanding, like, emotions, like making funny noises and doing stuff like that. And then once you start feeling, and it could be different for everybody, but once you really start feeling that, wow, this is so precious. Not that it wasn't, but it's just click that it's this precious. That's when I laugh, because I tell everybody in sales, like, well, if you really want to light a fire under your ass, you'll go have a baby. And then that's when you start going, holy crap, I gotta do everything to make sure this precious baby has the best chance in the world. Yeah.
Hmm. Yes. Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
I think it's good to explore that for dads to hear, especially if, like, they're just listening to this and they're about to be a dad. Because I think some dudes struggle with that initial, like, oh my gosh, I thought I was going to feel a way I was supposed to. But it takes a little bit of time in navigating what it means to be a dad and how you're supposed to feel. Like, there's real no supposed to, you know?
That, I'm so happy you said that, because, like, me just hearing that, like, makes me feel a certain way, man. Like, it just, like, it even gives me validity at this point. My daughter's 9 months old, like, all that kind of stuff. And immediately I was connected with her, but the boys, it was, they're both individually different. But I mean, if you're struggling with, like, what is this thing? Like, I'm supposed to feel different. I mean, Griff said I'd have a fire under my ass. I don't feel hot down there. Like, what the hell is he talking about? Or, it's going to happen. Just know that it is. And I think you kind of got to trust the process, that, you will be that person, like every grandfather and grandmother in the world that says to you, take those years and cherish them. Like, really do. They all will say that. So look, they're not all stupid. They all know from experience. You're going through some of the greatest stuff. Just kind of sit back. You don't have to feel any certain way. Just be there for the ride, and then, try and be conscious in the moment. It's huge. I'm not as good as a person that I thought I was. Um, Also, I'm pretty stupid.
I think that's so important, is being conscious, because there's so many things that can pull us away. As you reflect on the last 5 years of being a dad, what's something you've learned
It's
about
just
yourself?
it feels so freaking good to say that, right? We're always trying to build ourselves up all the time and like,
Hmm.
let's all get real. Like, um, human evolution, it took a long time, right? Like we've got to where we were at for, it took time, right? So give myself some grace on that. But, I think when you figure out what you don't know, that's when you start doing the learning. And then always I believe in this because I got so good at one craft that like I would even call myself an expert. I'm not an expert. I'm always learning all the time. Am I very capable at what I do? Yeah, I'm very capable at what I do, but careful when I call myself an expert or like, I know everything because that's going to cut off a whole bunch of learning, man. So, yeah, sure.
Mm. Mm. So constantly learning. So that's the thing is like you said it like tongue in cheek. You're like, I'm stupid. And it wasn't like you're a
Yeah.
victim and oh, poor me. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. It was just like, yo, I'm okay. I don't know what I don't know. And I don't need to pretend like I know a bunch of stuff to whatever,
Yeah.
please anybody. Cause then that cuts me off from the learning, right? That cuts me off from growing and learning and asking the question, like, can you help? I gotta, I love that, dude. That's super important. You mentioned doing work on yourself and growing and et cetera, et cetera. When you think about your boys turning 18, 19, 20, I'm just going to say the boys for now. What are the beliefs that you want them to have when they're leaving your home? So like if you could fast forward to high school graduation or them, Dad, I'm moving out. What are the things that you're going to want to go, I want them to believe, to know A, B, and C?
Okay. So an easy one right off the bat is like know how to love and treat themselves. So I think that would be one. Number two would be to know how to be respectful to others, appropriately respectful to elders as well as, just anybody. Okay. The third, and this one just screams out at me, is that, know what it takes to buy a house. Okay. You're turning 18. They don't teach it in high school. I think that's one of the worst things that they can do to people, especially living in California, where I'm at. Um, Make sure that you understand what it takes to buy a home because all of the stupid ass decisions you're going to make until you're probably like 27 is going to do exactly the opposite of what it takes to buy a house, right? So I guess it's the yourself, others, and then back on yourself, but also kind of could be for others in the finance world, right? Like you gotta like can't be stupid and naive. Like also, you're not just gonna take any job. You're going to be doing things with a purpose because again, you got that goal of buying that
Yeah.
house. I'm not gonna go out and
Yeah.
do this tonight because I've got bigger goals, right? Like, so I think that's my three. Yeah.
So two questions I have. So the first one is you made a comment, respect others, and then you said respect your elders. I think that's a bit of a loss in our current state. Why did you say it that way? And what do you mean by it? And why does it matter?
Look, don't ever let yourself be disrespected by anyone. Okay. But I feel like so if you have a chance to gain something from somebody else, which you automatically do, cash those chips from someone who's older. Okay. They're either going to be somebody you look at and you say, oh, I don't want to be like that. I'm not going to talk to him. Okay. So there you right there. I don't want to look like that. I want to look like this. I've learned what I want to look like. Um, then there's the conversation with someone that is older. Okay. You can gain a lot from talking based on their life experience, who they are, if they have a family, all these different things. If you're just asking about, hi, you have kids, like, who are you? Having a general conversation with them, you're going to start saying, again, like, maybe I want to be like this person, but don't ever cut off the opportunity to learn with someone who's older than you because that is who has all the knowledge. Generally, someone older than you is not trying to manipulate you, usually, if you're just having a conversation about life. Okay. They're probably not. Someone your same age, they see you as competition, there's a higher likelihood of being manipulated, I feel like. So, but at least at face value, respect your elders. They've gone through a lot. They've also, from our standpoint, the Social Security, all the things where the United States is today, those men went out, a lot of them, and they fought. Okay, they've gone through the foundation of what we have, and we're exploiting and overusing and doing all these things. That we got that because of them. Okay, so now it's our turn to pay our dues, right? So if we're going to pay our dues, we're going to be respectful to our elders, right? Well, so my family came from the Midwest. I still have a family farm we've had for 168 years. Yeah. So when you talk about the Yellowstone and those shows, like that was my family who came from Norway. And there's a small community that traveled through that whole area, and they're still all in the same area
Whoa, killer.
generation after generation. So a lot of them stayed there. So I guess it's from my grandfather, who was a Golden Glove boxer of Iowa. I mean, then also was a part of 16 Emmys. Okay, escaped the farm, went and wanted to be in the movie business. Knocked on NBC's door
Wow.
and got a job, and then worked his way into being the head cameraman for CBS. So he danced with Cher. He's done a lot of things. He's dead now, but he was very Midwest and very, very
Wow.
soft spoken. You would never know he did any of those things, but he was someone that
That's
when he
cool.
spoke, you listened, and now I get why, right? Like he just the way he did things, the things he told me, and it kind of instilled in me a lot of what I have right now. So yeah, that's a thing, right? I don't know if I have that, right? Like, but we all want to strive for that. And
Hmm. How does
I don't
one
know. I
become a
think
man
it
who,
comes from
when they
just a
speak,
place
people listen?
of being so secure with yourself, so content with what you have, and life is in order. And at least you feel it's in order. You are going to be probably just by default the guy that when you speak, people listen. And it's asking questions. Okay. So if you're the guy who's asking questions a lot, naturally when it's your turn to talk, they're going to listen. And you're on the podcast. So you get that. You get the right. So but that's a very powerful thing in that, right? It's almost like the unicorn, or like the white elephant, the thing that, like, is seems so elusive, but everyone wants to be, and everyone movies actors have to work so hard to just become that, right? So like in my mind, it's the person that's got all that experience. They're happy in their camp. Their porch is clean, and you don't know how the hell they kept it clean. Like you're looking over there, like, hey man, I still got stuff coming. Where's your stuff? He's like, well, I figured out I got a storage unit. They just send it all there, right? So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, two things you said about him. One is you said he was soft spoken. And then two, in that, what you said is like, if you spent time with him when he was alive, you wouldn't have known all the things he did. And then you also
yeah,
said he asked a lot of questions. So I think what I take from that is like, don't be talking about yourself all the time. Get to know other people. And I think ultimately that's what people want, right? To be seen, known, loved, accepted. And the only way you'll know that about another person is if you're not just trying to tell them all about you. So it's just a good reminder. Like, people don't care who I am, right? They care how much I care about them. And that's a wrestle, right? Question for you. The other question I had coming out of that was, with your boys being 4 and 5 and them kind of like stepping into now they can do stuff with dad. What's your thought on, would you push them as hard as your dad pushed you to go do the thing you love, baseball or whatever? And then on the flip side of that, the idea, it's like, you're 4. What makes you happy? So this month we're doing karate. Next month we're doing jujitsu. The next month we're in art class. And just like, oh my God, just bouncing everywhere. So what are your thoughts? Because it's kind of like two extremes.
yeah, right. So for me, it is just um okay, so you want to put all the energy into everything that they're excited about, right? And then you've got it over here, and it's over here, and it's over here. I think it's just kind of being there in the moment with them, and then being with them during this journey, right? Because we kind of go through that ADD thing throughout our life of what we like, right? Like, I like this, I like this, I don't like this, I'm going to do this now, I'm going to do this. And then as you get older, it starts getting, hopefully it doesn't get squandered, but you start finding your pathways, right? I think it's just like getting excited about what they want to do, and as far as pushing them that hard, at a certain point here, I don't think it's now, but maybe around 8 or 9 years old, it's getting to a place where I understand what their goals are, where they start having these goals. They're very vague, like I don't know what exactly they are, but once you start finding out what those goals are, there's also got to be hard work has to be instilled. Like you have to understand nothing is given. um, I won't force them to do anything. Now, if they don't want to do it and they've lost interest, then we move on. But if you're going to do something, you know don't be the person that is sad at the end of a competition or something like that because you didn't give it your all, or you wish you would have done better. I mean, if you worked as hard as you possibly can, and you don't get the desired outcome, it's going to be a lot easier to walk away from something than if you put in a half-ass effort and you want to be a crybaby. So there's got to be, a moment of teaching of, if we're going to do this, this is how we do it. Okay. And that's just setting them up for life in the future. That's the X factor. That's what you can give them, that, you know how to work, and you know how to work efficiently.
I
Yeah.
like that. And it hits home with me right now because I'm actually, my son's so I have 4 daughters and a son, and my son's about to turn 16. He's going to be a junior, and I'm pulling him out of school. And like, I actually have a tutor coming over here at 2:00. I'm kind of talking to this other lady. I'm really feeling this deep responsibility to go, like, I got 2 years with this kid to help him reach his goals, right? And I sent him on a few things to kind of figure out where his trajectory is, which can change.
Yeah.
That's okay. But what can I do the next 2 years to help prepare him to get to where he wants to go,
Yeah.
versus just like, just go do all this stuff. And because he's not playing sports at school, it's not his thing or whatever. So the hard work part is the part that we're transitioning and working on right now, right? That's kind of like the shift of a boy to a man, is understanding it takes hard work. But I do want to dig a little bit deeper in this question, because on your dad was baseball every day, to the point where you're a senior in high school and you're like, hey, you got drafted, and you're like, okay, like it just happened. Do you look back at the drive around this thing as it was a bummer, or that it taught you lessons, or both? Where are you at with that?
Mm. It's tough, man, because it's hard to look back at that time period and not just be thankful for the whole thing. Because, right, like I know how to work hard because of everything. I got burnt out 100%. Like, to where I didn't want to do it anymore, and he kept forcing me to do it. But inevitably, I became a professional baseball player. Was that good for me? I don't know. I have a fake hip now. I don't. So, like, it's a difficult one to answer, I think. And also, you're a kid too, right? So, like, how well do you know what's best for you? Right. And as a father, maybe he saw that this was the best thing for me, so I don't, it's a really, really tough answer or question to answer. Right. Yeah.
And it was like, it's what he could
Right.
give you too. So that's kind of interesting too, right? It's like, this is the thing that he had to give you. So instead of him just being off doing it on his own, being like, whatever you do, it's like he brought you along to give you what he could, which is a total
Yeah.
gift, right? And I think that's almost lost these days, right? Like, I've done like almost, I don't know, 400 interviews around
Yeah.
fatherhood, and I haven't met anybody who has a 160-year-old farm in the family. Like, that's deep, right? That is a bit lost in, like, are we teaching our kids our craft? Now, it doesn't
Right.
necessarily have to be like it wasn't
Yeah.
even that your dad taught you baseball as much as it was he taught you hard work and character
Yeah.
building around this thing, right? It's just the
Right.
medium was baseball. And so I wonder if us dads are missing that a little bit right now, of bringing our kids along because our jobs are weird now. It's not like, let's go out in the field and farm. It's like, I sell insurance. It's like, yeah. I don't know. Does anything come up for you as I'm kind of talking about this?
Yeah. 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 I just am, I'm trying to be, I guess I'm trying too much to be too politically correct or not just blast out. It's like, I think there's a lot of shit missing. I think straight up we are failing like crazy. I think I'm successful because 95% of people
You can
don't
say
know how to
whatever you want.
have a conversation with somebody. I think that they don't people nowadays don't have a lot to fall back on. They don't have we're losing what family is. We're losing, in a way what the roles are in a family. And that doesn't have to be like the man just does this. It could be roles reversed. I don't care. But there's no foundation to anything that we're doing. I mean, I feel like you're almost weird if you have a foundation. And what's that's translating to is that you got a bunch of people floating out there in the world who don't know how to talk to anybody and they don't know how to tell a story. And that's why, I mean, I bank on that because that's why I'm successful. One of the major reasons is that I can feel like I can go talk to anybody and I can relate with them usually, or, open a conversation, have icebreakers. I don't even have to think about it. It's just something I'm doing where that's like classes are being taught and that shit, like how to relate and talk to people. And then you have all these sales guys that are out there, these coaches, and they're out there saying the simplest things. They're trying to get the simplest topics across to you and or to people, and I listen to it and I'm like, are we really fucking there? Have we reached that point? Holy shit. Like, the majority of people out there are sheep, and they're waiting for someone else to come in and tell them what to do. And unfortunately, like, who's there telling people that? The government now. They're going to come in and tell you what to do. And most people are on for the ride. And it's not that, like, the messaging from the government, it could be anything, but any government coming in and telling you how to be or how to not be in any way, and you just kind of going along with it, like, without thinking for yourself, it defeats what our founding fathers have done. It's like we need to be free thinking people that are putting the best people out there so it's going off in a bunch of different directions here, but centralizing around, like, kind of, people nowadays, right? Nowadays, like, I'm so old, right? I've gotten so old, I'm saying that. But I really think people need to start getting that foundation. And maybe you touched on something there, that was my dad's tool. That was his craft. He saw that I could have a future in it, and he taught it the best he knew how. You can't fault him for that, right? Do I wish things were a little different? Yeah, don't we all? Like, but I'm not here crying on anyone's shoulder, right? So yeah.
Right, right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, dude, what I'm hearing big time is like foundation matters. And ultimately, foundation is formed in the home. And that's why this conversation and conversations like it are so important, because I think that as fathers, whether you're ready or you're not, most of us never actually will be. It's our role to like step up and go, okay, let's learn how to think. Let's learn how to talk to each other. Let's do these things that should be shaped inside. How to buy a house, how to finances work. Some of these like most basic things that people are making there's ton of stuff out there because fathers, in my opinion, because moms are so strong, and we don't live in a world where it's like you don't have to go kill a deer and bring it home and go. There is no provide and protect in this sense, right? Provide and protect means something different today, I think. And so it's like we can and have the opportunity to build foundations in our home with our children to be good, kind, conscious human beings, right?
Yeah.
And dude, that's what you're doing. That is what I hear and see you doing, and taking what you've learned and putting that into your family, loving them well, loving your wife well, like you said at the very beginning. Like, this
Yeah.
is fairly simple. Keep it
Right.
simple. Go buy your wife flowers, tell her you love her, show your kids, go to work, conversate, be kind to
Yeah.
everyone, right? That's what you said. You're like, I could talk to anybody. Yeah. It's not like, well, I only work with,
Yeah.
So, dude,
Right.
Griff, my last question for you, as we're at the end here, is
Right.
what type of grandfather do you want to be? So that's way off in the distance, right? But I think it's important for us men to be thinking that fatherhood doesn't end at the certain point, that there's even this next level. And we talked a bit about the honoring the elders. And so I want to keep this idea that like you and I's best years of wisdom might be like your own grandfather, dude, 65, 70. So with that in mind, what kind of grandfather do you want to be?
Yeah, man, I think when you said the word grandfather and what you want to be, like, I think of like the garage. Like, it's funny, you didn't even have to come up with that thing in the beginning, but like the garage that's totally neat with a tool for everything. And I guess what I mean by a tool for everything, that's not just like a hammer or a screwdriver. Okay, like I want to have a tool for everything. I want to be loved. I want to know how to show love, but I want to be approachable. I'm 6'5", 275 pounds. I don't want them to be like the scary grandfather. He's too big. Like I want to be the one they run up and they punch him and give him a big hug and what's up, that grandfather. Like I want to be able to be the approachable person that they, no matter what, can come over and stay at my house. That's who I want to be. That's it. I want to have a big family. You said, are you done? I don't know, man. I always picture 12, 13, 14 people at every one of my Christmases as I get older and, maybe 20, So that's what I would like to. Yeah.
Griff, I think that the word you use is so incredible. And I think dads, as we're listening, if we can go into our day today, just asking the question, am I showing up approachable? Like that doesn't have to be, as a grandfather. It's like, am I approachable? If my 13-year-old daughter is wrestling with something or my
Yeah, buddy.
9-year-old
Yeah,
son,
buddy.
do
Yeah.
they think in their head,
Be
I've got to go
approachable.
find
Yep.
dad and talk to him? Like, dude, if that's all that we do, bro, the world would look so
Yeah.
different in 100
Yeah.
years,
Yeah.
right? Dude,
Yep.
let's do that. Let's do that. Dude, it doesn't take rocket science to do that. You get out of your head a little bit. Don't be a dick.
Right.
Let's set aside the stuff, right? There's always going to be a messy porch. Set it aside and just be approachable. Not
It'll
like,
still
oh,
be
shoot,
there
dad's
for you.
working
Guess
on the
what? They'll
car.
be
I
waiting for
can't
your
go
phone
talk
call
to him.
back.
Dad's on the phone. I can't go talk to him. How much of that is true for us? It doesn't have to be. Doesn't have to be. You could hang up that phone call, say, hey, my kid needs me. I'll call you back. Yeah, but your kid's eventually going to stop walking up to you because they're going to know that you're not approachable. But we can shift that. We can change that. Griff, my friend, dude, this conversation's so freaking good. Thank you for the work you've done. Thank you for the man you are. Thank you for the milestone moments in your story, from surgery to be laying up on your back to supporting your wife during a heavy time to supporting your kid, that in all those moments you decided to get out of bed, freaking smile at yourself in the mirror and be like, yo, I'm going to go do this.
Right,
I don't got to be the smartest guy in the room. I can do this. And it's such an inspiration to me, to all the dudes listening, and just kudos to you. And thank you for the man you are. I appreciate you, bro. What an incredible conversation. I so love just really all of it, but the ending talking about being an approachable man. I mean, simple guys, if we can take that into our day and just be approachable, to not put so much weight on whatever it is that we think is so important. For me right now, it's like building the office. It's so important, but am I so focused on that I'm not using it as an opportunity, and or is it just a block for me to connect with my wife, to connect with my kids? Like, it's going to get done. If it gets done, it takes a month longer, but I had an incredible 3 months of connecting with my family. That would be better. There's always a project we're working on. Be an approachable man. All right, dudes, thank you for listening. Thank you for what you do, who you are. You matters. Don't be like everybody else. Be yourself. That's who your kids and spouse and community needs. This is your guide, Ned Shout. Together, let's rebel against the view that fatherhood has little impact, and let's create lives engaged in mastering the craft of fatherhood. I look forward to hanging out with you next time.